There comes a moment in every person's life when you realize you're carrying things that were never meant for you to carry. You're walking through life heavy, not because of the journey, but because of the luggage. You've been dragging your past, your pain, your guilt, your fear, and calling it responsibility. But hear me today, what you refuse to let go of will eventually control you. You can't climb to your purpose while holding on to your past. You can't soar with eagles while clinging to stones. You can't step into the future while staring at what's behind you. So the question isn't, what do I want to become? It's, what am I willing to release? Most people spend their entire lives afraid to let go, because somewhere deep inside they believe that if they release something, they will lose everything. But the truth is far greater than that. Letting go is not losing, it is sex gaining clarity. When you finally decide to unclench your fists and release what has been weighing you down, you begin to see what your life was always meant to look like. It's not that the world suddenly changes, it's that your vision clears. You start to see things for what they really are, not for what your fear made them appear to be. Think about it. You cannot receive something new when your hands are already full. Imagine trying to grab a rope that's meant to pull you up to a higher place, but your hands are still holding on to old baggage. You want to rise, but you can't, because you're clinging to what's behind you. That's how most people live. They are so consumed by their memories, regrets, or comfort zones that they can't even see the opportunities standing right in front of them. Letting go doesn't mean you failed. It means you've grown enough to understand what no longer belongs in your life. Sometimes the hardest thing to release isn't a person. It's a version of yourself. The version that played it safe. The version that tolerated disrespect because they were afraid of being alone. The version that said yes to everything because they feared rejection. That version had its purpose. It helped you survive. But survival is not the same as living. You've outgrown the survival stage. Now it's time to live with clarity and purpose. When you let go, something powerful happens inside you. You create a spacey. And space is sacred. Space allows creativity to breathe, allows new relationships to enter, allows peace to expand. But when your life is overcrowded with worry, resentment, and noise, there is no room for clarity. You start mistaking activity for progress, business for purpose, noise for meaning. You wake up tired not because of what you did, but because of what you refused to release. I've seen people hold on to jobs that drain their souls, relationships that crush their spirits, habits that destroy their peace, all because they're afraid of the unknown. They say, what if I let go and it gets worse? But what if you let go and it gets far better? What if the thing you fear losing is the very thing blocking your blessing? What if the pain you're avoiding is the path to your freedom? You cannot receive healing while you're still holding on to the hurt. Letting go requires faith in the unseen. It means trusting that if something leaves your life, it's making space for something better. It's like pruning a tree. You cut away the dead branches not to harm it, but to help it grow. The gardener doesn't cry when the leaves fall. He knows it's part of the process. In the same way, when people's plans or seasons fall away, don't mourn forever. Understand that sometimes clarity only comes after the storm has passed. Look at your life for a moment. What are you carrying that's clouding your vision? Is it fear? Guilt? The opinions of people who never understood your purpose? Every time you hold on to something toxic, you build walls around your potential. You start living in survival mode instead of purpose mode. You start reacting instead of creating, and then you wonder why life feels so heavy. Letting go is not an act of weakness. It is an act of strength. It takes courage to walk away from what's familiar. It takes power to silence the voice that says, you'll never find better. The truth is, you will never discover who you truly are until you release who you no longer need to be. You can't step into tomorrow while holding the hand of yesterday. I've met people who had everything, money, titles, influence, but were still miserable. And when you look closer, You realize they're not unhappy because of what they have. They're unhappy because of what they refuse to release. They've filled their lives with possessions, but emptied their hearts of peace. Letting go is not just about material things. It's about the clutter in your soul. It's about releasing the grudges, the bitterness, the need to prove yourself. It's about saying, I no longer need to carry this weight to validate my worth. A clarity is power, and clarity only comes when you stop trying to fix what was never meant to be fixed. The moment you let go, you begin to see life not through the lens of fear, but through the eyes of purpose. You begin to recognize what truly matters and what was just noise. You start valuing peace over popularity, growth over comfort, and purpose over approval. Letting go doesn't mean you forget. It means you forgive. It means you release the emotional charge attached to the memory, so it no longer controls your peace. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? That shift is where clarity lies. Because life doesn't get lighter when things change. It gets lighter when things you change. So when you find yourself standing in the middle of confusion, trying to make sense of what's falling apart, remember this. Sometimes clarity doesn't come from holding on. It comes from surrendering. The fog doesn't lift because you fight it. It lifts because you wait for the light to rise. And that light can only shine when your heart is free from what's blocking it. Every season of your life will demand a new level of letting go. The moment you think you've mastered it, another layer appears. That's growth. That's transformation. Because clarity is not something you achieve once. It's something you protect daily. Every morning you wake up, you decide, will I hold on to the weight of yesterday, or will I walk into today with open hands? You can't heal while holding on. Those words sound simple, but they carry the weight of a lifetime. Too many people are walking around with invisible wounds, scars no one can see, pain no one talks about. They smile on the outside, but inside they're still bleeding from something that happened years ago. The reason so many people never truly heal isn't because the pain is too deep. It's because they refuse to release it. You cannot move forward if your heart is still anchored in the past. You can't reach the light while clutching the darkness. Healing demands surrender, not control. There's a reason why wounds don't close when you keep touching them. Every time you replay what happened, every time you relive that betrayal, that rejection, that disappointment, you reopen the wound that was trying to heal. Some people don't realize that their pain has become their identity. They wake up every day wearing their heartbreak like a badge of honor. They talk about what hurt them more than what healed them. But you will never find peace in the replay of your past. You cannot rewrite what happened, but you can decide it will no longer define who you become. Imagine trying to climb a mountain while dragging a heavy bag filled with stones from your past. Every step becomes harder, every breath heavier. Now imagine setting that bag down. The climb doesn't get easier because the mountain changed. It gets easier because as you did. That's what healing feels like. When you let go, you're not denying what happened. You're deciding it no longer has the right to hold you hostage. You're choosing peace over pain, growth over grudges, and purpose over pity. Some people think holding on is strength. They say, I can handle it, I'm fine. But strength isn't about how long you can endure pain. It's about knowing when it's time to release it. You don't prove your strength by carrying wounds. You prove it by healing from them. Every scar on your soul is proof that you survived, but survival is not the destination. You weren't born just to endure. You were born to evolve. Healing requires honesty. You have to face the parts of you you've been avoiding. The memories you suppress, the emotions you numb, the conversations you never had, all of them become walls inside your heart. You can't build a peaceful future on an unhealed foundation. If you ignore your pain, it doesn't disappear. It just finds new ways to express itself. It shows up as anger, fear, bitterness, or anxiety. That's why so many people are short-tempered or closed off. They're not cold, they're wounded. Let me tell you something powerful. Forgiveness is not about letting someone else off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the chain. You forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. You can't drink poison and expect someone else to suffer. Holding on to resentment is like building a cage and locking yourself inside. The key is in your hands, but as long as you keep replaying the pain, you'll never use it. The moment you say, I release it, the moment you stop demanding that the past repay a debt, it's like the weight melts off your shoulders. That's the power of letting go. I once met a woman who carried anger for decades towards someone who had betrayed her trust. Every time she spoke about it, her eyes filled with fire. When asked if she ever confronted that person, she said, "He died 10 years ago." Think about that. She was still chained to someone who was no longer even alive. That's what happens when we hold on too long. We give our pain a lifetime lease in our hearts. You don't owe your wounds loyalty. You don't owe your pain another day of your peace. Healing begins when you stop asking why it happened and start asking what it taught you. Every disappointment is a classroom. Every heartbreak is a teacher. Pain doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to develop you. But it can only do that if you stop resisting the lesson. When you hold on to bitterness, you become blind to the blessing hidden in the experience. Sometimes the worst thing that happened to you was actually the doorway to your transformation. But you couldn't see it because you were too focused on what you lost instead of what you learned. You can't heal in the same environment that broke you. If you're trying to recover while still surrounding yourself with the same energy, same voices, same patterns, you're just re-injuring yourself. Healing often requires isolation. It means stepping back, cutting off noise, and sitting alone long enough to listen to your own soul. Some people fear being alone because silence exposes what distraction hides. But it's in that silence that you begin to rebuild yourself. The truth is, healing hurts before it helps. When you pull out a thorn, the pain intensifies for a moment, but only then can the wound close. In the same way, when you finally confront your pain, it may feel worse at first, but that's the process of release. You can't avoid the pain and expect freedom at the same time. The only way out is through. And the sooner you face it, the sooner it loses its power. Life has a way of repeating lessons until we learn them. The situations might change, the faces might change, but the emotions feel the same because the wound inside remains the same. Once you heal, life doesn't stop challenging you, but you stop being controlled by it. You become unshakable because what used to break you now builds you. So many people say, I'll heal when they apologize. But you don't need closure from others, you need closure from within. Healing doesn't depend on what others do, it depends on what you decide. You can't control how people treated you, but you can control how long you let it define you. You don't need permission to move on. The day you decide, I'm done carrying this, is the day you reclaim your power. Healing is not forgetting, it's remembering without pain. It's waking up one day and realizing the memory no longer stings, the name no longer burns, the wound no longer bleeds. You don't erase the past, you outgrow it. And when you do, you become lighter, wiser, and unstoppable. Because the moment you stop holding on, you finally make space for what was always meant to be yours: peace, clarity, and freedom. Your past is not who you are, it's what you've been through. It's not your identity, it's just your history. Too many people live their whole lives as prisoners of moments that no longer exist. They wake up every day carrying labels that were never meant to define them. Failure, divorced, rejected, abandoned. They repeat those words so often that they begin to believe them. But the truth is this: your past is not a prison unless you keep locking yourself inside. You cannot step into the light of who you're becoming if you keep identifying with the shadows of who you were. Every one of us has made mistakes. Every one of us has experienced heartbreak, disappointment, or betrayal. But the problem is, many people stop living after it happens. They freeze in that moment. They say things like, I'll never trust again, or I'll never be good enough. What they don't realize is that pain is supposed to be a chapter, not the whole story. You can't move forward while reading the same page over and over again. The past can teach you, but it should never trap you. I remember meeting a man who said he could never succeed because years ago he started a business that failed. He said, "That failure defined me." I looked at him and said, "No, it didn't define you. It refined you. You just stopped too soon. You see, failure is never final unless you stop learning. The same fire that once burned you can also forge you. But if you keep seeing yourself through the eyes of your past, you'll never see the greatness that's waiting to emerge in your future. You are not the same person who made those mistakes. You've grown, you've changed, you've evolved. Stop treating your new self like your old wounds. Your past is a place of reference, not residence. You can look back to understand it, but you can't live there. Some people can't enjoy what's in front of them because they're constantly haunted by what's behind them. They keep comparing their present to a memory that no longer serves them. They keep reliving what broke them instead of rebuilding what's inside them. If you drive a car and only look in the rearview mirror, you're going to crash. The mirror is there for awareness, not direction. It's the same with life. Glance at the past to remember the lesson, but keep your eyes fixed on where you're going. People often say, "But you don't know what I've been through." And you're right. I don't. But I do know this, no matter how bad it was, you're still here. And if you're still here, that means your story isn't over yet. The fact that you survived means you have purpose left inside of you. There's something in you that life couldn't kill. That's power. That's strength. That's identity. You're not defined by what broke you. You're defined by how you rebuilt yourself after it. Think of a seed planted deep underground. It's buried in darkness, surrounded by dirt, pressed on every side. From the outside, it looks like the end. But inside that seed, something is happening: growth, transformation, preparation. One day, that same buried seed breaks through the surface and becomes a tree. What once looked like burial was actually planting. Your past wasn't meant to bury you. It was meant to plant you. But you'll never see the growth if you keep identifying as the seed that got buried instead of the tree that's breaking through. Too many people keep reliving old seasons in their minds. They say, "I used to be this," or "I wish I could go back." But life doesn't move backward, it moves forward. And sometimes what you're missing isn't your past, it's your passion. The past doesn't have the power to hold you unless you keep feeding it. Every time you replay an old pain, you give it new energy. Every time you define yourself by an old story, you strengthen the chains that keep you bound. You have to stop feeding what you want to starve. Stop watering the weeds and start nurturing the garden. Don't let your mistakes become your name tag. Don't let your history become your home. Who you were is not who you are. What happened to you doesn't disqualify you. It qualifies you for greater purpose. The things that embarrassed you, the failures that broke you, the nights you cried thinking no one saw, those are the very things that built the depth of character inside you today. There is gold in your scars if you're willing to see them as proof of healing instead of symbols of shame. You can't keep introducing yourself to your destiny as the person you used to be. When you step into new levels of life, you must shed the identity that belonged to your old season. If a snake never sheds its skin, it dies trapped in what used to fit it. Some of you are suffocating because you're wearing an identity that's too small for who you've become. You've outgrown the pain, but you keep dressing in it. It's time to outgrow your labels, outgrow your regrets, outgrow the story that no longer reflects your strength. You are not what happened. You are what you chose to do after it happened. The past gives you context, but not definition. Every time you rise again, you're rewriting what your story means. And people will see your life and realize that where you came from is not where you're going. You're not a reflection of your pain. You're a reflection of your resilience. The past may have shaped your journey, but it doesn't own your destination. You decide who you are becoming, not what has been done to you. The past is loud, it screams with regret and memory. But your purpose whispers, quietly, gently, persistently, telling you there's more ahead. You just have to listen to the whisper louder than the wound. Because the moment you stop identifying with your pain and start identifying with your purpose, everything shifts. You start walking differently, speaking differently, believing differently. You stop saying, I used to be broken, and start saying, I was built through the breaking. You stop seeing your scars as evidence of pain and start seeing them as evidence of survival. You stop living as a victim of your story and start living as the author of your future. You become free when you release control. Most people spend their lives trying to control everything, the outcome, the people, the timing, the circumstances. They hold on so tightly that their hands begin to bleed. And yet they still refuse to let go. They believe that if they stop controlling, everything will fall apart. But the truth is, it's not life that's falling apart. It's just the illusion of control that's breaking down. The more you try to control everything, the more you lose yourself in the process. True freedom doesn't come from having control over life. It comes from having peace within life, no matter how unpredictable it becomes. We try to control the things that were never meant to be in our hands. We try to control how people see us, what they think of us, who stays and who leaves. We try to control the pace of our progress, the timing of our success, the shape of our blessings. We want to predict the next step, plan the next move, guarantee the next result. But life has a strange way of teaching us that control is just an illusion we created to protect ourselves from uncertainty. You can plan everything perfectly and still watch it fall apart. You can love people deeply and still see them walk away. You can do everything right and still face storms you never saw coming. That's when you realize control was never the goal, peace was. Think about it. The tightest grip always breaks what it tries to protect. Hold sand too tightly and it slips through your fingers. Hold relationships too tightly and you suffocate them. Hold your dreams too tightly and you lose the joy of pursuing them. Life flows best when you learn to release your need to dominate it. Because control doesn't bring peace, it brings pressure. You wake up exhausted because you're carrying burdens that were never meant for your shoulders. You can't sleep at night because you're trying to fix what only time can heal. You're worrying about tomorrow when you haven't even lived today. Freedom begins the moment you say, I don't need to control this to trust that it will work out. People who live with peace are not the ones who control everything. They are the ones who learn to surrender. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving into the flow of purpose. It means saying, I don't understand everything right now, but I trust that there's meaning in this moment. There is power in release. There is strength in stillness. There is growth in acceptance. When you stop trying to manipulate every outcome, you open your life to miracles you could never have manufactured. Sometimes, when things stop working, it's not because life is against you. It's because life is redirecting you. We've all had moments when we thought we lost control, but looking back, those were the very moments that shaped us the most. You didn't plan that failure, but it humbled you. You didn't plan that delay, but it prepared you. You didn't plan that heartbreak, but it taught you what love truly means. You didn't plan the detour, but it led you to a destination that was better than what you imagined. If everything went according to your plan, you would have settled for less than your potential. The things you couldn't control were the very things that made you grow. There's a story in every life, a story where we fought to control and then learned to release. You see, the ocean doesn't fight the waves, it flows with them. The bird doesn't control the wind, it learns to ride it. The flower doesn't control the sunlight, it simply opens up to receive it. Nature teaches us every day that harmony doesn't come from control, it comes from cooperation with the rhythm of life. The more you try to control the current, the more you drown. The moment you trust it to carry you, you begin to float. We try to control because we fear what we don't understand. Fear makes us think that if we don't take charge, everything will collapse. But fear is a liar. Fear convinces you that peace is found in control, when peace is actually found in surrender. Letting go doesn't mean you're careless. It means you're courageous. It takes courage to trust that what's meant for you will find you. Even if you stop chasing it, it takes courage to stop forcing outcomes and start believing that alignment is better than effort. You will never experience freedom as long as you're trying to be the master of every moment. You experience freedom when you realize that even when things fall apart, you still have the strength to stand. Have you ever tried to control someone you love? You monitor their every move, worry about every word, fear every distance. You think that by holding on tighter, you're keeping them close. But love doesn't thrive under control. It thrives under trust. The same goes for your dreams, your purpose, your life. You can't control everything and expect it to bloom naturally. You have to create space. You have to breathe. You have to trust the timing that doesn't make sense. Some of the most beautiful moments in life happen when you stop trying to control the narrative. When you release your need to be perfect, you discover peace in being real. When you stop scripting every detail, you allow life to surprise you. Control may give you a sense of safety, but surrender gives you a sense of freedom. You start to realize that the weight you were carrying wasn't the world, it was your need to carry it. The freedom you've been praying for isn't found in having power, it's found in letting go of it. There's a saying, when you stop chasing what's not yours, what's truly meant for you starts running toward you. The moment you release your grip, you begin to rise. When you stop controlling outcomes, you start enjoying the process. When you stop trying to predict the future, you start being present in the now. And that's where life truly happens, in the now. The greatest gift you can give yourself is peace, and peace only comes when you stop trying to play the role of life's director and simply trust the story that's unfolding. Freedom doesn't mean that everything will go your way. Freedom means that even when it doesn't, you'll be okay. It's knowing that not every unanswered question needs an explanation. It's understanding that not every ending is a loss. Some endings are the beginning of something greater. It's realizing that you can stop controlling, stop striving, stop overthinking, and still live a life full of purpose, because what's meant for you doesn't need your control, only your trust. There comes a point in life when you have to stop asking why everything happened the way it did, and start declaring that everything that happened is working for your growth. You have to stop begging for peace and start creating it. You have to stop waiting for someone to hand you healing and decide that you are worthy of it. You've spent too long dragging the chains of the past, trying to fix what's already broken, trying to control what's already out of your hands. Now it's time to rise, lighter, freer, and stronger. The storms that tried to drown you were only there to teach you how to stand in the rain. You thought you were breaking, but you were actually being built. The truth is, nothing in your life was wasted. Every heartbreak was a teacher. Every delay was a direction. Every rejection was redirection. You didn't lose yourself, you were being refined. You didn't fall behind, you were being prepared. The pain you've been running from was never meant to punish you. It was meant to position you. You cannot become gold without the fire, and you cannot find freedom without the release. Every scar on your soul is a reminder that you survived something that was meant to destroy you. And the fact that you're still here means there's still purpose breathing inside you. You've carried enough weight. You've cried enough nights. You've questioned yourself long enough. This is the moment you stop seeing yourself through the lens of your failures and start seeing yourself through the lens of your future. You're not a mistake. You're a masterpiece in motion. You're not broken. You're becoming whole. You're not weak, you're learning what real strength looks like. The best version of you is not hidden in your perfection. It's hidden in your persistence. Every great person who ever changed their world had to learn how to let go. They had to release fear, doubt, and the need to control every outcome. Freedom is not found in holding tighter. It's found in trusting deeper. It's found in saying, I may not understand what's happening, but I trust that this is leading me somewhere beautiful, because real power is not in control. It's in surrender. When you surrender what's weighing you down, you rise. When you release what's breaking your spirit, you fly. When you forgive what tried to destroy you, you find peace that nothing in this world can shake. You can't heal by clinging to what hurt you. You can't move forward while staring at what's behind you. Life is not meant to be lived looking in the rearview mirror. You can't reach new heights while your heart is anchored to old pain. The door to your destiny won't open until you let go of the handle of your history. You can't carry yesterday's weight into tomorrow's promise. So stand tall, breathe deep, say it out loud. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. There's a fire inside you that no storm can extinguish. There's a strength in your soul that no failure can destroy. Every time life knocked you down, you rose again. And that rising was proof that you are greater than what tried to defeat you. You are not defined by the battles you fought. You're defined by the courage that kept you fighting. You may not control every event in your life, but you control your response. You control whether you let it make you bitter or make you better. And the moment you decide to rise again, life has to bow to your resilience. You've spent long enough trying to be in charge of everything. Now be in charge of one thing, your peace. Protect it like it's your greatest treasure, because it is. Protect your mind from negativity, your heart from resentment, and your spirit from fear. When you learn to guard your peace, nothing external can shake your internal strength. You can walk through chaos and still remain calm. You can lose everything and still not lose yourself. That's freedom. That's strength. That's wisdom. So today, make a decision, a holy, unshakable, unstoppable decision to release everything that's been draining you. Release the grudges, the guilt, the fears, the regrets. Let them fall. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to carry everything. Just let it go. Because once your hands are free, life can finally place in them everything you were meant to hold. You've been waiting for a breakthrough, but the breakthrough has been waiting for you. To release, to trust, to surrender. You're not losing anything by letting go. You're gaining everything. The weight that once held you down will become the wind that lifts you higher. The pain that once broke you will become the wisdom that guides you. The story that once hurt you will become the message that inspires others. So rise. Walk out of your past and into your purpose. Speak life over your future. Choose freedom over fear, faith over control, and peace over pressure. Because when you finally let go of what's heavy, you don't just move, you soar. And the world will look at you and realize that the very thing that tried to bury you was the reason you learned how to bloom.